Lyra floated through the endless darkness of space, her small ship creaking under the strain of a system long past its prime. She had seen countless worlds, each more advanced than the last, yet none had welcomed her. Some had feared her unusual appearance, others had dismissed her abilities as dangerous, and a few had openly mocked her. Everywhere she went, she had been rejected. The loneliness had become almost tangible, pressing against her chest like a physical weight, and the stars themselves seemed cold and indifferent. She glanced at the controls, trying to steady the failing engines. Her hands, delicate yet precise, moved over the panels with practiced skill. Even in her most desperate moments, she could repair almost anything, though this time the damage was severe. The engine hum was irregular, sputtering in a rhythm that spoke of impending failure. Lyra sighed, leaning back in her seat. She had survived this long by relying on her own wits and her knowledge of countless technologies, but even she could not keep a broken ship alive forever. Her eyes, large and reflective, scanned the endless void outside. The nebula she had been drifting toward glimmered faintly, clouds of dust and gas swirling in soft, muted colors. It was beautiful, but it offered no comfort. The thought of yet another world that would reject her filled her with a deep, quiet despair. She was tired of fighting for acceptance, tired of the constant coldness of rejection. Lyra had always known she was different. Her body was designed to withstand extreme environments, her mind capable of understanding complex systems almost instinctively, and her heart, if one could call it that, was capable of empathy that surpassed most beings she had met. Yet all her gifts seemed to mark her as other, as someone who did not belong. She had hoped that somewhere among the stars she would find a place to rest, a place where she could finally belong. So far, every hope had ended in disappointment. A sudden jolt threw her against the controls. Sparks erupted from a console and warning lights flashed urgently. Lyra's heart raced, but she did not panic. Carefully, she stabilized the ship, engaging the emergency systems she had installed long ago. The hum of the engines returned, though weaker and strained. She exhaled slowly, feeling the tension ease slightly. At least for now she was safe. For now. Her thoughts wandered to her homeworld, a distant planet she had left long ago. It had been a place of rigid rules and harsh judgments. Her own people had deemed her incompatible, a failure because of her unique traits. The memory stung, though she had tried to bury it beneath years of survival and self-reliance. She had left that world seeking something better, yet every new world she visited only mirrored the rejection she had faced at home. The faint glow of her navigation screen drew her attention. A nearby sector showed signs of life, a small, uncharted solar system that had not appeared in any database she had accessed before. It was a faint signal, barely noticeable among the noise of the nebula, but it was enough to spark a flicker of hope. Perhaps this time, things would be different. Perhaps she could finally find a place to rest. With careful precision, she set her ship on a slow course toward the system. The journey was perilous. The nebula's magnetic fields interfered with navigation, and rogue asteroids drifted unpredictably. Yet, for the first time in years, Lyra felt a sense of anticipation rather than dread. She tightened her grip on the controls, eyes narrowing as she guided the ship through the swirling clouds. Hours passed, the ship moving inch by inch through the dense nebula. Lyra monitored every system, her attention unwavering despite fatigue. The lights flickered occasionally, and she patched electrical faults as they arose. Her body ached from the strain of hours spent repairing and stabilizing systems, but she refused to rest. She had survived too long to falter now, not when the possibility of finding safety and acceptance was so close. Finally, through the haze of the nebula, she saw it, a small metallic object drifting silently. Her sensors confirmed it was a ship, though long abandoned. It bore the markings of an older civilization, one that had been long forgotten by the larger galactic communities. The vessel was battered, torn in places, but it still held the promise of shelter, a place where she could dock and perhaps find temporary safety. Lyra's hands moved quickly, securing the ship for docking. The docking process was rough, the airlock creaking as it connected to the derelict vessel. She stepped inside cautiously, her eyes scanning the dim interior. The corridors were dark and silent, filled with the scent of disuse and old metal. Yet, there was something comforting in the emptiness, a space where she could be alone without judgment. She explored the vessel, finding it mostly empty but still functional in places. She repaired minor systems, restoring power to lights and communication devices. It was not much, but it was enough. For the first time in years, she felt a small spark of relief. Perhaps she could stay here for a while, at least until she regained strength and plotted her next course. As she worked, a soft signal pinged her repaired communication panel. It was faint, almost imperceptible but distinctly alive. Lyra's ears twitched in curiosity. She traced the signal, following it through the nebula until it became clear. The signal came from a human ship, exploring the sector. She had heard of humans before, curious, brave, often compassionate. Stories of their explorers reaching the farthest corners of known space had circulated among outcasts like her. The signal pulsed again, this time with a message in a simple, clear language. "Distress detected. Are you in need of assistance?" Lyra froze. She had almost forgotten what it was like to be offered help. Almost every being she had met had either ignored her or sought to exploit her. The concept of someone genuinely wanting to assist her felt foreign, almost unbelievable. Yet the words were there, glowing on her panel, a beacon of hope in the vast darkness. After a moment's hesitation, she responded, her voice calm but cautious. "I am stranded, ship damaged, assistance required." The response was immediate. "We are nearby, hold position." "Help is on the way." Lyra's heart pounded. She did not know these humans. She did not know if they would accept her or fear her or turn her away. But the thought of being rescued, of being seen as someone worthy of help, was overwhelming. For the first time in her long, lonely journey, she allowed herself to hope. Minutes later, the human ship appeared, sleek and imposing against the swirling colors of the nebula. Its engines hummed steadily, and its lights cut through the darkness like a promise. A docking clamp extended toward her vessel, and she felt the gentle pull as the humans guided her ship safely alongside theirs. A ramp descended, and she saw him, Captain Ethan Hale. He was human, tall and steady, with eyes that held curiosity and warmth. His expression was calm, welcoming, and something in it disarmed the years of fear and mistrust she had carried. "You're safe now," he said, his voice firm yet kind. "Come aboard. You don't have to be alone anymore." Lyra hesitated, her instincts warning her of possible danger. She had been tricked, captured, or turned away too many times to fully trust. Yet something in his presence, in the simplicity of his offer, made her pause. There was no demand, no expectation, just a choice. Slowly she activated her ship's airlock, stepping onto the ramp and into the human vessel. The interior was spacious and well lit, a sharp contrast to her cramped, failing ship. Crew members moved with precision and professionalism, yet their faces showed curiosity rather than suspicion. No one reached for weapons. No one demanded explanations. Ethan stepped forward, offering a hand. "I'm Captain Hale. You're safe here. Tell me your name, and we'll figure the rest out together." Lyra studied him, her mind racing. She had been alone for so long that the offer of companionship felt almost unreal. Yet something in the way he stood, steady, confident, and unafraid, made her feel a warmth she had not known in years. She spoke softly, "Lyra, my name is Lyra." "Lyra," Ethan repeated, as if tasting the name for the first time. "Welcome aboard." The hours that followed were quiet but transformative. Lyra explored the ship, guided by Ethan and his crew. She was allowed to inspect systems, offer suggestions, and even repair minor faults. No one questioned her motives. No one doubted her abilities. For the first time, she felt valued, not for what she could provide, but for who she was. That night, as the ship sailed through the nebula, Lyra found herself in a small observation chamber. The stars outside stretched infinitely, a canvas of light and possibility. She had spent so many years searching, wandering from world to world, always rejected, always alone. Yet now here, she felt a fragile, tentative hope. Perhaps this time she had found a place to belong. Ethan appeared beside her, quietly observing the stars as well. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her large eyes reflecting the starlight. "It is, but beauty is easier to appreciate when one has someone to share it with." Ethan smiled, a small but genuine curve of his lips. "Then you'll have that. You'll have people who care, who want to understand you, and who won't turn you away. This is your home now, if you want it." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest, an unfamiliar but welcome sensation. She had spent so long running from rejection that the idea of acceptance felt almost impossible. Yet here it was, offered freely, without condition. For the first time in her long journey among the stars, she allowed herself to believe. She could belong. She could be part of something bigger than herself. She could have a home. As the ship sailed on, carrying her into the unknown, Lyra realized that the journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, dangers to face, and questions to answer. But for the first time, she would not face them alone. She had found allies, friends, and perhaps something even more profound, a sense of belonging that no rejection could ever take away. She leaned against the observation window, watching the stars drift past, and felt a quiet, unwavering determination take root. Whatever the galaxy might throw at her, she would face it. She was no longer a lone wanderer. She was Lyra, and she had found a place where she could finally call home. And somewhere deep in her chest, she felt the smallest, most fragile spark of hope ignite, a hope that would grow, one day, into a future she had never dared to dream of. Life aboard Captain Ethan Hale's ship quickly became a rhythm for Lyra. She had expected to feel out of place, to be regarded as an outsider even among humans. Instead, she found curiosity, patience, and acceptance. The crew did not simply tolerate her, they learned from her. They watched as her fingers danced across consoles, repairing delicate circuits, recalibrating sensors, and making subtle adjustments that increased the ship's efficiency. Every improvement was met with quiet admiration, not envy or fear. Lyra herself was cautious. Years of rejection had left scars that did not heal easily. She observed the humans closely, watching their interactions, learning their routines. She had always been skilled at reading others, a necessity for survival among alien societies that often judged and dismissed her. But with Ethan's crew, she noticed something remarkable. They did not judge her. They listened. They valued her input. They even laughed with her, sharing stories of Earth and the stars. Slowly, a warmth grew inside her, one that she had thought impossible. The ship carried them deeper into unexplored space, a region of stars and planets that had rarely been mapped. Ethan trusted her instincts and knowledge, allowing her to take the lead when navigating dangerous territories. Lyra's senses, finely attuned to environmental changes, picked up on anomalies that even the advanced human scanners missed. Rocks drifting silently through a nebula, subtle gravitational fluctuations, hidden debris, all became visible under her guidance. She felt useful in a way she had never experienced, not as a tool or weapon, but as a being capable of making a difference. One morning, Lyra was working in the ship's engineering bay when alarms blared suddenly. Red lights flashed across the room, and a deep warning hum vibrated through the metal floors. She raced to the control panels, her mind calculating possibilities in rapid succession. The sensors showed an approaching vessel, large and heavily armed, its silhouette barely visible through the nebula's dense clouds. "They're coming fast," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. Ethan appeared beside her instantly, eyes scanning the readouts. "A warship," he muttered. "No friendly markings, no communication. Someone's trying to capture or destroy us." Lyra frowned. She had heard of alien factions that hunted rare beings like herself, seeking genetic advantages or exotic technologies. She had spent a lifetime avoiding them, always alone. But now, with humans at her side, she felt something she had never felt before: determination. She would not be a helpless target. Not now, not ever again. "Give me control of the navigation override," she instructed. "I can guide us through the nebula and avoid their weapon systems." Ethan nodded without hesitation, trusting her instincts completely. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, rerouting power and adjusting shields. Her mind calculated trajectories, predicting the warship's movements and plotting safe paths through the twisting clouds of gas and debris. The crew watched in awe as she moved with precision and confidence, guiding the ship through near-impossible maneuvers. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, but finally, the warship's attacks fell harmlessly short. Lyra's calculations had been perfect. The vessel that had once been a threat now trailed behind, unable to catch them. Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "You saved us," he said quietly. Lyra shook her head, a small smile forming. "We saved each other," she replied. "You trusted me when you didn't have to. That made the difference." The encounter left a deep impression on the crew. They had seen her intelligence and courage firsthand, and any remaining doubts about her value vanished. Lyra, for the first time, felt a profound sense of belonging. She was not just a passenger or a guest. She was part of a team, part of a family that respected her for who she was. Days turned into weeks as the ship continued its journey through the uncharted sector. Lyra grew closer to the crew, learning their names, their habits, and their dreams. She shared stories of her travels, of worlds that had rejected her, and of the strange, beautiful places she had discovered alone. In return, they shared laughter and small acts of kindness that made her heart swell. Ethan, in particular, became a constant presence in her life. He did not demand explanations or obedience. He simply offered companionship and trust. He listened when she spoke, valued her opinions, and often sought her advice on complex decisions. Lyra realized that she had never experienced such genuine connection. It was not just friendship, though that was part of it. It was recognition, acceptance, and understanding. One evening, as the ship drifted near a cluster of bright stars, Lyra stood at the observation deck, gazing out at the sparkling void. Ethan joined her silently, placing a hand gently on the railing beside hers. The silence was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. "You've changed things for us," Ethan said softly. "Not just the ship, but the way we see the galaxy, the way we see life. You've reminded us that strength isn't just in power or technology, it's in compassion, courage, and understanding." Lyra turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I have changed too," she admitted. "I've always been alone, always rejected. But being here with you, with all of you, I feel like I can finally be myself. I feel home." Ethan smiled, a quiet pride in his expression. "Then this is your home, Lyra. As long as you want it, it will be." Their moment was interrupted by a sudden alert. Another signal, this one faint but deliberate, appeared on the main console. Lyra's eyes widened as she recognized the pattern. It was a message from another civilization, one that had once rejected her, now attempting to track her. The warship from before had been only the beginning. "They haven't given up," Lyra murmured, a shadow crossing her face. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Whatever they throw at us, we'll face it together," he said. "You're not alone anymore." The following days brought challenges that tested every skill and strength Lyra possessed. She worked alongside the crew to reinforce the ship, anticipate enemy movements, and develop strategies for both defense and evasion. Each encounter strengthened her confidence. Each successful maneuver reaffirmed her worth. She was no longer the lonely wanderer drifting from world to world. She was a vital member of a team, respected, valued, and trusted. One particularly tense encounter involved a dense asteroid field, where a fleet from her homeworld attempted to capture her, hoping to reclaim what they had once deemed a mistake. Lyra's knowledge of alien technology and the field's terrain allowed the ship to navigate safely, avoiding capture and even using the enemy's pursuit to her advantage. The humans watched in awe as she orchestrated every move, a seamless blend of instinct, intelligence, and bravery. After the battle, the crew celebrated quietly in the common area. Lyra sat among them, her heart swelling with something she had never allowed herself to feel fully: belonging. The laughter, the shared relief, the camaraderie, it was overwhelming in the best way. She realized that home was not a planet or a title. It was a place where one was accepted, valued, and safe. Ethan approached her later, handing her a cup of a warm beverage, a small gesture of comfort. "You've done more than anyone could have expected," he said. "You've taught us all something important, and I want you to know you belong here, with us, with me." Lyra's eyes glistened. She had always feared that her differences made her unworthy, that no world could ever accept her fully. But here, among humans who saw her as more than her origins, she felt something she had never dared to hope for: unconditional acceptance. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between Lyra and the crew deepened. She shared her knowledge, her culture, and even small, personal habits that gave glimpses into the life she had left behind. In turn, the humans shared theirs, teaching her about Earth, about humanity's history, and about the values they held dear. She learned to laugh at simple jokes, to relax in ways she had thought impossible, and to trust fully. The climax of their journey arrived when a massive alien warship attacked, determined to capture Lyra for her rare genetic traits. The battle was fierce, with lasers and shields colliding in brilliant flashes of light. Lyra worked tirelessly alongside Ethan and the crew, her unique abilities giving them an edge. She anticipated enemy movements, sabotaged their weapons systems, and guided the ship through maneuvers that no human pilot could have executed alone. By the end of the encounter, the warship was disabled, retreating into the darkness. The crew cheered, not just for the victory but for the bravery and skill Lyra had demonstrated. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, not as an outcast, not as a mistake, but as someone capable, valued, and essential. That night, as the ship drifted quietly through a calm sector of space, Lyra stood at the observation deck once more. Ethan joined her, placing a gentle hand on hers. "You've found your place," he said softly, "and no one can take it from you." Lyra looked out at the stars, a smile spreading across her face. She had been rejected by countless worlds, dismissed, feared, and alone. Yet here, among humans who valued courage, kindness, and intelligence, she had finally found her home. She was no longer a wanderer drifting through the stars. She was Lyra, part of a family, part of a team, and part of a future filled with possibility. As the ship sailed on into uncharted space, Lyra felt a sense of peace and determination she had never known. She would face whatever challenges came next with courage, knowing that she was no longer alone. She had been given more than a home. She had been given acceptance, friendship, and trust. And for the first time in her long, lonely life, Lyra allowed herself to hope, not just for survival, but for a future filled with belonging, discovery, and the simple joy of being seen for who she truly was. She had finally found a forever home.